now.
Thank you.
We're good.
Thank you very much. Good morning, hello, and welcome to today's meeting of the Academic and Strategic Initiatives Committee. I want to remind everyone that this meeting is being live streamed to YouTube for the general public, and all audio and video is being captured and recorded. We have a very large agenda today, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I would like to also remind those that are presenting, if you'll keep your cameras off until it's time to present, that would help us also. So Carrie, will you please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Lori Harper.
Here.
Dr. Mohammed Barber. Mr. Colby Burks.
Here.
Mr. Lucas Mincer. Miss Vidya Ravichandran. Dr. Robert Statt. Mr. Kevin Weaver.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I know for sure Vidya is joining. She just must be behind. So when she joins, we will acknowledge that she is here. So we will have a quorum. I guess until she gets here, we cannot do the minutes because we need a quorum. Oh, there we go. Let's give her time to get logged on. Video, do you have audio?
I do.
Okay, thank you. So now we have a quorum. So I am going to the meeting minutes from our February 1st meeting were in our materials. Are there any objections to those as presented? All right, if none, they are approved as distributed. You also might recall that at our January meeting, we received an extensive overview of the Cultural Competency Certification Program that is being developed by CPE Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Unit. At this time, the credentials process, the credential process was still under development, and today, Don Offit is back to discuss how the work is progressed and ask for the committee's approval to move forward. So I turn it over to Don.
Good morning. The last time I came before you, I presented the draft of the Cultural Competency Credential Certification process. Since then, the process has been finalized and was included in your packet of materials for today. As a brief reminder, the process is designed to support the Kentucky Public Postsecondary Policy for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which identifies the creation of a cultural competency certificate program as one of the strategies an institution can implement in order to meet goals in certain components of the policy. In response to this, CPE created a statewide cultural competency certification process. Institutions may opt to have their cultural competency program certified by the CPE, which will afford them the opportunity for their program to have independent third-party verification and provide consistency, currency, and portability for students who are awarded the credential. Institutions who wish to have their cultural competency programs certified by CPE must submit a proposal demonstrating how their program aligns with the 8 of the 4th model for cultural competence, and it must demonstrate how it reflects a minimum of 6 credit hours per credential awarded. Upon receipt, the Cultural Competence Advisory Council, which consists of faculty and staff representatives from institutions across the state, will review the proposal materials and provide feedback on alignment and compliance with the standards and requirements. of the 8 of the 4th model for cultural competency to the CPE within 10 working days. CPE staff will make a recommendation to the ASI committee that the program be certified as a Kentucky Cultural Competency Credential for the committee to take action on at its next regularly scheduled meeting. We are excited that we have some institutions ready to pilot this program, and so we are coming before you today to seek approval of this process. If there are any questions about the process or what you read in your materials, I'll be happy to entertain them at this time.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Dawn today? Okay, if not, again, I'd seek a motion to approve the CPE's new cultural competency certification program.
So moved.
We have a first by Mr. Weaver and do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vivian. And we have a second.
Madam Chair, can I say something in the discussion period
Yes.
of this?
You may.
I'm very proud of Dawn and her crew for putting this together and all the people from all the campuses. This was a collective effort, as you all know. It was a lot of bright minds coming together to put a vision that I had many years ago into play. So I wanted to especially thank Dawn and her team, as well as all the campus representatives for doing so. For this committee, I will tell you that no other state is doing this yet. But now everybody's looking at us and wanting to follow suit, and that makes me happy, as you know. So Dawn, I just wanted to give Dawn and her crew a call out and a thank you for actually making something this good, if you will, that campuses clearly can be a part of.
And I did actually have one question. Under the credentialing, where the first micro-credential would encompass content found in the first half, and the second would be optional, the second half of that, why is the second half of that optional?
When we went to our cultural competence work group, which was a work group of faculty and staff representatives from our 2- and 4-year institutions last summer, we asked them what were the minimum competencies they felt were needed for students once they graduated, as well as individuals working in the field. And so when we looked at that information, we wanted to ensure that we gave clear delineations between what was a minimum and then what would be more extensive. And so that component looks at the content they thought was at least minimum to begin to have some better self-awareness, and then a more extensive. But I will also say that as we presented this, many of the representatives that we work with felt that they wanted the option to have all of the content available for their students. But that was what we went to the work group asking the question about the minimum, and wanted to make sure that we honored what was brought out in that work group in the discussions.
Thank you.
Mr. Weaver, I will say this, that this model is designed in its completeness. It would be great if it did them all, right? Because it really is a holistic continuous improvement model. It really builds a solid, what I call a path system, a curricular system, a pedagogical system, as well as it allows you the ability to assess on your own and build it and make it better. However, we do feel like all of our campuses should have at least the first part of this module. But in my mind, I'm with you. I think that's a good question. I mean, even though we're not going to, we'll let the campuses do what they want to choose it, I would heavily encourage them to think about doing all the modules.
Any further discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
To the academic, go ahead. Oh,
I just said thank you.
oh, you're welcome. Thank you for all your hard work.
Lori,
Yes,
on the minutes, what did you say at the start that we passed minutes from February?
we passed minutes from, yeah, it does say February.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I heard that, and I just wanted to make sure that I think I had two sets of minutes, March 23rd and April 23rd, and what was sent to me.
Well, actually, you were right. So, you know what I did is I did not look at the correct line. So you're correct. So let us go back. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes.
Just to make sure we get this approved. So we have the approval of the minutes from the March 23rd and the April 23rd meeting. So Kevin, is that a motion to approve those minutes?
It is.
Okay, and then Vidya, will you be the second? Thank you so much. I apologize. In my notes, I had the last meeting's minutes. So I apologize, my error. So now we're going to move on to the academic readiness indicators. And one of the CP's responsibilities is to determine the assessment to be used as indicators of the statewide college readiness, as well as the scores that say that a student is ready for success. This is accomplished by the adoption of the academic readiness indicators. And at this time, I would like to turn this over to Ms. Amanda Ellis, who will talk about the indicators proposed for approval for the 2022 through the 2024 academic years.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to share my screen for those who may be new and just give you just a very brief context, just so you'll understand what we're doing. And Chair, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure everybody could see it and it's big enough. So we have been meeting with representatives from each of the public universities in KCTCS to discuss and make recommendations for the academic readiness indicators. This is not for admission, but this is for placement into gateway courses. And so this is typically done each year for the upcoming following school year. Academic school year, but they had asked for consistency purposes that we extend it for 3 school years and collect data throughout. So there are a few changes than what you all have approved in the past. If you will start, first of all, down in the table, you'll see where there's ACT, SAT, Coyote, GED, college readiness, and ALEX were the original indicators before. There were recommendations to consider AccuPlacer and EdReady diagnostic. So we did have David Mahan's group and folks who represent AccuPlacer, folks who represent EdReady, the universities who are using the data to kind of work together to ensure that those measures are predictive. And so based on what we have, we're recommending to add those two as options for the universities and KCTCS campuses to use. It is not mandatory that they use all of them or any specific one, but what we have done is added 2 more additional indicators or measures that they could use to indicate if students were ready to be placed in courses or if they needed additional support with co-requisite course or co-requisite support.
Amanda,
I'm sorry?
now your screen is, at least what I'm seeing is now the blue screen. I'm not seeing a document.
Oh.
So make sure that,
Okay, my apologies. Let me stop sharing. I'll share again.
yeah, it went away. It was up and then it went away.
How is that? Is that better?
Yeah, now it's back up. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm not sure what happened, so I appreciate you telling me that. And so these would be indicators, and what we have done is set the minimum benchmark of what students would have to have. The reason we say minimum is because with AccuPlacer, to give you an example, many of our universities use AccuPlacer. If students maybe have not met ACT benchmark or they don't have an ACT assessment, or they come in maybe adult learners, don't have indicators. And so for AccuPlacer, for example, one of our institutions requires for English and reading a 265. And so we would not ask the universities to reduce their expectations, but we set a minimum that you can't go below the benchmark that was set. There was great discussion around this in lots of meetings. We had monthly meetings. The other thing I want to bring to your attention before we have any type of discussion is, for the first time that I'm aware of, I could be wrong, and Dr. Bell could definitely correct me, and Dr. Thompson, but what we've done is set up also a decision band. So the other change that we're proposing to go into place is the use of the cumulative unweighted GPA for high school, which we recommend was a 3.0. And what we're asking the universities to consider as we've gone test optional, many of the students are not submitting any type of test score, or maybe they didn't have the opportunity to take the ACT prior to, maybe they're coming in and maybe are just 1 point off in mathematics or whatever it may be, but to really consider the GPA. We had Education Commission of the States representative come in and share different state models and research around the predictability of GPA, cumulative, not specific to a certain content area. So as you see in the chart, what we are proposing and what the universities wanted to start with is that if the students, so if you look in the blue box, if the students ACT, SAT, Coyote, whatever assessment benchmark is used, does not meet the minimum benchmark, then the GPA would be another consideration for placement. So if they had a 3.0 or better, they would be placed in gateway courses without the co-requisite support. The universities or KCTCS could still consider other assessments and kind of have the autonomy to provide that additional support if they felt like the students needed it. But we did want to include GPA. It has been discussed a lot. There is research around it, and we felt like it needs to increase access. Not all students are fantastic test takers and sometimes feel a lot of pressure, but they have demonstrated through their courses and their success that they can handle it. So what we are proposing is the addition of the GPA, the addition of AccuPlacer and EdReady diagnostic. We will monitor those indicators and the outcomes for the next 3 school years and give those outcomes to the institutions and bring this to this committee as well to keep you informed. But like I said, we've had excellent discussion. We reconvened. I was going to bring this to you in March, but the group asked that we reconvene and discuss again in a little bit more detail, thoughts around the benchmark and the assessments. And so we did do that. We have great collaboration. And so I am happy to answer any questions. And of course, Dr. Bell has been in this a long time as well. If you have questions for her, she is online. So I will stop there.
Great, thank you. I see that Dr. Statt has joined us also. Welcome. Does anybody have any questions around the proposed Kentucky Academic Readiness Decision Band?
I had a question. I was wondering for what period of time we were proposing this decision making. Is this for the upcoming cycle? Is it for 1 or 2 more cycles? And just also, if you all have a slightly longer term view on where testing is actually headed, it's very confusing to sort out what those bodies are thinking, what colleges are thinking. So would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, great question. So this would actually go into place for the fall of 2022. The universities have told us last year that the timing matters. They will start recruiting for next year, even as early as this summer and into the fall. As you all know, recruitment starts early, and they like to have those indicators to be clear and have clear expectations for incoming students. That would be for the fall of 22, 23, and 24. They just felt like having to wait each year for anything that could change is inconsistent, and it's hard for them to do recruitment and set expectations. So they wanted to collect data over time. So Dr. Mahan and his group convened the folks who collect the data and are already working on the data standards for collection of how they do placement and success in those classes, because we want to make sure that what we choose is actually predictive and accurate for students. We don't want to set up a false positive for them or to cause more angst. The other piece is exactly what you're talking about. Is there's lots of discussion around the use of assessment. We already know, and Dr. Thompson has mentioned many times that we do have test optional for enrollment, but for placement, they're trying to figure out the best measures for placement, because many of the students, according to our university reps, are coming in with not as many, I would say, assessment outcomes. They don't have to submit those. Some have different criteria, but they're trying to figure out the best way and most, I would say, equitable way to really rethink placement and support of co-requisite courses. I think that's where everybody's trying to figure out. The other thing that's a little bit challenging is, especially the students coming in this fall, through COVID, there's lots of different experiences. And so they're preparing for additional supports and ways that they can assist students, knowing that there will be some academic gaps and ways that they can navigate. So that's why really getting this approved for next fall is even more helpful, because they're trying to plan ahead to figure out how they need to best accommodate student needs. Dr. Thompson, did you want to add anything to that?
There's a couple points I want to add. First of all, nationally, what we're doing here is the way that people are going. We're a little bit ahead of the game simply because we got ahead of the game a few years ago when I came in to make admissions a test optional system, minimum admissions. The second point that I think is important is that most of us realize, and this is where we have to work with our P12 counterparts, there's a direct correlation between the graduation requirements and the ability to not only know where you're at coming in, but how successful you are while you're in it. So we're looking at what I consider to be a paradigm of success as we think about this, more than just admissions and early placement, but how does this impact the, graduation? How does this impact completion? How does this impact quality? So you're going to hear some things coming to you fairly soon on what we call the graduate profile, what it looks like. Things like this will be included in that. And I think it's important, Vidya, if I'm reading what you're saying between the lines, are we making sure that we have all the necessary inputs to know the outputs that we're trying to achieve? This is clearly closer to getting us there, but still, we're going to have to look at and evaluate this as we go along to make it better. So there may be other things that pop into this conversation as we go along. But this is clearly the direction the country is going. Several are looking at Kentucky, how we're doing this, since we were a little bit ahead of the game. And so there were different campuses around the country doing some of this, but no one had done it at a statewide level like we're doing. So hopefully that assists what Amanda was saying.
I appreciate that. One quick follow-up question, and I think this is important for us to get this right. How are we taking these requirements and standards and percolating it down to the people that need to understand this clear as day, which is the students in high school that are, incoming freshmen today, so they know what to plan for? This is really where I think we lose a lot of people, because they don't even know what they should be preparing for, how they should be preparing to even apply to college. And so, I'm sure you all have lots of plans, but I think we need our stakeholders on the Department of Ed side and all of our counselors, to sort of be on board and understand this very clearly.
Amen. I'll let Amanda give you more detail, because that's exactly what we're doing with our Ed Continuum. But that's exactly right, Vidya, you're hitting it, because we in the past have, and I'll say this carefully, we've done this silo game. We complain that K-12 hasn't prepared our students, and now we have to make up for it. K-12 has said, well, y'all haven't really told us everything you really needed. Right. So the matching up has always been a little suspect, if you want to call it that. And we've done that in many cases in silos, whether we've done our admission standards or placements, or K-12 done their graduation requirements, or the communication went down. Although we said we did it together a lot, but in many cases we did not. So you're absolutely right. That's exactly the way we need to be thinking about this. How do students know as early as 7th grade, like what we're doing with the Gear Up, what they're going to have to be prepared for when they come to college? Mm-hmm. And so Amanda can give you even more detail on that. I know you're familiar with the video, but that's what this ed continuum is really about. It's making sure that that alignment takes place.
Yeah, I'll just speak briefly to that because I know we're tight, but I will tell you this is part of the funding that we received from the GEARS dollars from the governor's GEARS funds, the federal dollars that came in. We were given opportunity to create an advisor type of cadre to have higher ed and K-12 work together to learn about true college of career advising. We have lots of great resources out in the state, but to Dr. Thompson's point, they're very siloed. So it's exactly what we're working through now with many partners in the state to start to create kind of a professional learning opportunity with cohorts within all 8 regions to get the information to the folks to tell them what it really means and why it matters and why it's in their accountability system. That's not just getting a test score, but it really is for placement purposes and sustainability, success and sustainability. And so that's exactly what we're working towards because there are so many gaps. And so we have to really connect some basic dots that just is information and communication about the meaning and the purpose of what happens when they leave that graduation stage. And so that's exactly what we're working towards. And that's the funding we're going to be using. We're working along with KDE and Kia and many other partners to create some cohorts to start learning about the things that we just assume people know and they don't know. So it's exactly in alignment with what we're doing. And so these indicators will also help us to explain how those decisions are made and what are considered, the many differences that are considered. So that's exactly the direction we're going, and we'll be able to provide some data for you as we start to get into those school years.
Great, thank you. If there's no other questions, do we have a motion to approve CPE's 2022 through 2024 academic readiness indicator?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Now we're going to move into the statewide academic program review policy. Over the last few ASI meetings, we've received the results of the academic program review project and which concluded earlier this spring. The methodology focuses on institutional mission alignment, unnecessary duplication, and efficiency. And the CPE staff stated in March that it would propose an amended statewide policy for the council's adoption that incorporates that methodology. At this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Melissa Bell to present.
Thank you, Chair Harper. So just to follow up on that, we previewed the policy elements at the March ASI committee and also at the April CPE meeting. So there are no surprises here. None of those elements have changed, but we have completed our comprehensive analysis. So now it's time to update the policy. So to refresh our memories, we are proposing a 3-pronged process going forward. So first, institutions will continue to conduct their institutional program reviews and send an annual report to CPE. We still have access to all that data that we've been talking about over the last couple of years, and all of that can be incorporated into those processes. The second element is a state level analysis that looks across institutions for any opportunities for increased efficiencies. Once again, using all the data that we have in hand. And then the third element is a way to more fully align 2 of the important responsibilities of this committee. So you have program review and you also have the statewide strategic agenda. So for those strategies in our statewide agenda, where it makes sense to look at them at the academic program level, we're going to work with campuses to advance these ideas in a very focused and strategic way. What we really want to do is to scale up some of the big ideas that we've been talking about. So this element combines this into an infrastructure where we can really promote the strategic agenda and do some innovative program review at the same time. So with that summary, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Melissa. Do we have any questions that I want to ask before we take a motion?
Lori, sorry for being late coming in. I had computer problems, but regardless, I see in the agenda we have many new programs being proposed at the bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level. But in the review process, how often do we recommend the elimination or reduction of a program? Seems like we're always adding, but I don't hear much about reducing the load. It just seems to expand. And I don't know if Melissa can help me on that or not.
Dr. Sad, I'll partially answer that. Melissa's got the numbers. We bring you all, I think once a year, the total number we eliminate. We don't, you all have to approve programs in that sense of the word, but ultimately we don't bring you every time we close the program. Melissa, you have that number though.
No, well, actually I don't. It was hopefully maybe in the minutes from the last one. I'm trying to think, but that is what we did. We gave a list of the number of programs that have been closed over the last 3 years, and it seemed like it was in the hundreds, I think.
It was. We did that report the last meeting, Dr. Stat, but we bring you all of them once a year. We don't bring them to you each and every time. So, but it was, we closed far more, there were far more closed than had opened, to make a long story short. Somewhere along the way, Melissa, please try to find that number and give it to them again.
Yes, I absolutely will.
Well, sorry to be a little throwing a little wrench in the system, but I just was curious. I haven't seen the list and or how it really works. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I would seek a motion to approve CPE's amended statewide academic program review.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Stat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Now we're going to move and discuss the proposed new academic programs. And we have a lot of programs, so I would remind everyone that we just have a couple minutes to discuss each program. So we have 9 new academic programs up for approval today, and the campus representatives are here to present on those. I will turn it over to Ms. Melissa Bell again. If you want to add.
I will try to keep this going very swiftly. So first up, we have Northern Kentucky University's Master of Science in Health Administration. So NKU currently has a Master of Science in Health Sciences with a concentration in health administration, but the vast majority of students in that program choose to go into the health administration concentration. So NKU is pulling out that concentration, adding a few more courses, and then turning it into the program you see before you today. And I believe we have the Dean from the College of Health and Human Services, Dale Stevenson, here, and perhaps the Associate Dean, David Tataw. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right, Melissa. Yeah,
I see one shaking head. There we are. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
go ahead, David.
Okay, yeah, we are proposing a 34 credit Masters of Science in Health Administration that, as earlier mentioned, will replace our current Master of Science in Health Sciences. And of course, this program will be completely online. We'll target early careerists and mid-careerists. Those are people who are below, early careers will be people who are about below 5 years, and mid-careers are people who are a little bit over 5 years in the field. And this will train health services and medical service managers. And there's very high demand for this program. As mentioned earlier, 75% to 85% of the students who currently have in the Masters of Health Science program choose health administration focus. That's why we're pivoting to this program. But besides that, we have a huge pool of 3,000 plus undergraduate students, and we have about half of those students seeking a clear career path, and this will offer them the opportunity to do that. So we are projecting about 30 to 50 students per year in enrollment, and we hope that we'll finally end up with about 90 to 150 each time. We might go above that because we think the demand is very high. As far as employer demand is concerned, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is projecting about 18% increase in this area from 2018 to 2028. And at the Kentucky level, we have about 5,000 job openings within this time. In the Ohio side, we have about 15,000 job openings. So there's a huge employer demand for that. But we also have additional information data besides this hard data I'm giving here. But we had requests in the past 7 years from our providers, particularly St. Elizabeth, which is a great partner of our university, for this program to come on board, and also from the advisory committees of our clinical programs in the School of Allied Health, which to be the Department of Allied Health. We have respiratory therapy, we have other radiation therapy and other programs. And the advisory committee have been asking us to create a pathway for the students who graduate to go into health administration, because those programs only give bachelor's degrees. So we provide them another opportunity for career. And we also had our program directors for our undergraduate programs at NKU asking us to provide that. I do want to mention one thing. When our new president came and had a tour of Northern Kentucky, one of the programs they asked him to provide was the health administration program. And he came to our the meeting of our college. That's when our new dean just came and told us that they're asking for that program. So there's that kind of support as well. The other point is that of complement to existing programs. We're going to provide significant support to the MBA program in terms of health stacks for health administration, which is in high demand among MBA students. So it will strengthen that program. And as I said earlier, we'll provide support for our clinical programs, also provide a pathway, professional pathway for our undergraduate students. I think I probably covered everything here. That was quick, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I do. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Actually, I have just a very simple one, because I'm looking at the proposal right now, and it says implementation date January 15th of this year. Is this program already going as such?
No, that was a projected implementation date at the time we were initially requesting doing a proposal. In those days, they used to do a pre-proposal. CP used to ask to do pre-proposal.
Right.
But right now we're projecting fall.
Okay, thank you.
2021.
Okay, on the statement where it says NKU retains 50% of tuition proceeds per agreement with academic partners. Who are the academic partners?
Yeah, I can go ahead and take that, David. So Northern Kentucky University has an agreement with a company called Academic Partnerships. They actually market and recruit students in our accelerated online programs. We have several of them across the campus. This is proposed to be one of them. In that agreement, we revenue share 50% of our tuition revenues, net tuition revenues, with this company.
Okay, and then in the questions that were, I think, submitted or responses from the University of Louisville, number 3 has to do with the primary service area. And I was wondering, since this is online, how you identify the primary service area as being this, I guess, somewhat restricted area instead of a broader area because it is online.
I can answer that since I help with the market analysis. Well, I want to talk quickly about online programs. They tend to predominantly draw from 100% radius, 100-mile radius from the program, except for very dominant national programs, which we don't intend to be that kind of player in this field. But you know that University of Louisville and us, we really serve a very different geographic area. We are here in the greater Cincinnati area, and our competition is actually the Ohio area. So we are Kentucky and Ohio. That's where the competition is. That's why we had significant support from UK as we developed this program. because they wanted us to be as strong as we can to compete in the Greater Cincinnati area.
Okay, and then my final question is, obviously there were lots of comments or responses from the University of Louisville. You all provided responses to those comments. Was there any additional feedback from Louisville after they received your responses?
Not that I know of.
And just to let you know how the process works, so the CPE staff kind of are the go-between between this, but when we are looking at similar programs, that is basically based on a zip code. So if a program has, if a university says that I have a similar program, but they have it in a different zip code, it doesn't come up in our system. So we did kind of facilitate the conversations between the University of Louisville and NKU, but for the intents of this policy, it is not considered a similar program.
Any other questions? If not, that is the only program that is proposed for Northern Kentucky University. So I would entertain if there is a motion for the NKU Health Administration.
So moved.
Motion? Second. And a second, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Thank you, motion carries.
And I can very quickly close the loop on our last conversation because I pulled up the ASI report from last time. So in the last 3 years, CPE has approved 29 baccalaureate programs, and during that same time period, 157 baccalaureate programs were suspended or closed. So, and now we can move on
Thank
to
you, Melissa.
You're very welcome. So next up, we have several from the University of Kentucky. We're going to begin with 3 related programs, a Bachelor of Science, a Master of Science, and a PhD in Aerospace Engineering, all of these in response to Kentucky's large and growing aerospace industry. And Michael Renfro, who is an endowed professor and chair of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, is here to provide an overview of all 3 programs.
Thank you. So I'll start with the BS program and present it, and then if you'll allow, I'll present the MS and PhD programs together because they really share the same rationale and background. First, the bachelor's program is going to be a 127 credit BS program in aerospace engineering that will be housed in the mechanical engineering department. So we'll likely seek a name change in the near future to mechanical and aerospace engineering. The aerospace engineering program will provide a rigorous foundation in engineering development of aircraft, spacecraft, and related aerospace systems. So the program will be broad and cover all of the primary aerospace disciplines. We've benchmarked this against other universities, and this program is of a similar scope as found in combined mechanical aerospace engineering departments at large universities in other states. The program will be the only ABET accredited aerospace engineering program in the state. So graduates from the program will be prepared for positions in the Commonwealth's growing aerospace industry immediately following graduation, or for advanced graduate studies, including in the companion MS and PhD programs. Student demand for the program has been estimated using several approaches. First, the number of students that leave Kentucky each year to pursue aerospace in other states using in-state agreements on the common market has averaged 30 students per year for over the last decade. Aerospace, in fact, is the second most common program for which students leave Kentucky. Second, we did internal studies of students in engineering at UK to determine how many students that are coming to UK would choose aerospace engineering over other engineering majors. And we demonstrate an additional 30 students per year that would come to the aerospace engineering program. So combining these, we estimate a steady state enrollment over all 4 years of about 250 to 300 total students, half of which would be new to the university. This is consistent with our benchmarking at other universities that have combined in the aero programs. Employer demand was estimated using surveys of companies that currently recruit at UK, but recruit for aerospace engineers at other universities, since we don't currently offer that. We have several members on our mechanical engineering advisory board that represent large aerospace companies, and they also provided input on student demand. And we use data from Bureau of Labor Statistics and Kentucky's engineering sector analysis. So the estimates from these show that the regional demand for aerospace engineering graduates is well matched to our anticipated rate of graduation. Plus there's a projected 25% growth in demand in this area over the next decade. Finally, in terms of the program's fit within our department, this is highly complementary to the existing mechanical engineering program. When you look at large state universities around the country, having combined mechanical aerospace engineering programs is a very common solution to providing both of these because of their common topics in the sophomore year especially. We already have significant faculty, at least 8, that conduct research actively in aerospace engineering currently and teach elective classes in many of the aerospace subdisciplines. So the Aero program will only require adding 10 new classes to their curriculum to be able to provide the full bachelor's program to students. Currently, we have an aerospace certificate that's also available to students that are not majoring in aerospace engineering, and mechanical and electrical engineering are the most common students that complete that certificate today. So the new required bachelor's aerospace engineering courses will expand elective offerings and make that certificate program even more vibrant as an opportunity for students that want to major in something else but get a flavor of aerospace engineering along the way. So I'll stop the bachelor's one there and happy to answer any questions about the proposal.
Just a simple question. I think I heard you correctly. Half of your the new students would come to UK strictly for the program. The other half, what you're taking from another people that were mechanical are now going aerospace or something like that. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what we project. And so for our budget numbers, we used only the new students to UK as the baseline for our aerospace budget.
That's where I was headed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't you go on and start the MS and PhD.
Okay, can move on to those. So the MS and PhD programs will also be housed in mechanical engineering and provide advanced study and research opportunities in modern engineering theory, technology, and practice associated with aircraft, spacecraft, and related aerospace systems. The program is designed to prepare students for aerospace research and development in industry, government labs, and academia. Program will also be comprehensive in terms of covering all of the major aerospace subdisciplines, and it will be similar to those at top aerospace programs in the US, in which we used as benchmarks for our program development. Our faculty and ME, as I mentioned, already have significant expertise in research activity that's recognized nationally and internationally in the aerospace community. This includes, in particular, highly visible programs in both hypersonics and in autonomous systems and control for aerospace systems. So in fact, it's like many of our mechanical engineering students today are really getting aerospace engineering degrees. They're just getting it under the program of mechanical engineering. The MS program will offer both thesis and non-thesis options like our mechanical MS program. The thesis option is intended for full-time graduate students, requires a minimum of 24 semester hours of coursework and 6 credit hours of thesis research along the thesis. The non-thesis option is intended for part-time students who are employed and doing the degree as they work. That requires a minimum of 30 semester hours of coursework and a project, but not a thesis. The PhD program is intended for full-time graduate students only. It is a research degree. The degree requires a minimum of 36 semester hours of coursework, along with at least 1 year of residency, oral qualification exam, and completion of a research-based dissertation. For student demand, we currently have many of our undergraduate students in mechanical engineering that conduct aerospace research as their undergraduate students or participate in our aerospace certificate, for example. And some of these students leave at the end of their bachelor's degree to pursue aerospace graduate degrees at other universities where they're forced to leave the state. So approximately 5 to 10 students per year just out of our mechanical engineering bachelor's program leave Kentucky each year to pursue aerospace engineering degrees elsewhere. And when we benchmark against similarly sized combined mechanical aerospace engineering departments in other states, approximately a third of the total students are in aerospace and 2/3 in mechanical. So if we look at our current mechanical engineering graduate programs, we have 35 students in the master's program with about 15 graduates per year, and 65 students in the PhD program with about 10 graduates per year. So, so with that benchmarking and with the number of students that we see leaving UK to pursue those degrees elsewhere each year, we're estimating steady enrollment of about 15 master's and 25 PhD students, with annual graduates of about 7 masters and 5 PhD students. The BLS data supports employer demand of about 10 to 15 new positions within the state each year. So this is well matched to the size of the proposed program. But also our graduates from the PhD program in particular, we expect to pursue positions at national labs and as faculty at other universities. These graduate programs are also highly complementary to the existing mechanical engineering graduate program. We have an existing critical mass of faculty, researchers, and elective classes being offered in ME today. So we actually can offer both the MS and PhD program without a significant increase in our course offerings and without hiring faculty specific for these programs. However, with the companion bachelor's program, we will be hiring faculty, and that will also bring on the opportunity for additional electives and additional research options that will benefit the graduate programs. So I'll stop there and happy to answer questions on the graduate programs as well.
Actually, I had a question for actually part of the bachelor's too. Do you have internships or work studies for any of these requirements?
So we have a vibrant internship and co-op program that's optional for students. So we have an office run by Ilka Bach and the College of Engineering that works with companies to collect the opportunities and do matchmaking with our students. It is optional. It's not a required part of the curriculum, but in mechanical engineering today, 85% of our students do participate in internships or co-ops. And we have already connections with major aerospace employers. And so I expect that we'll have similar types or rates of pickup for students doing internships in the Aero program.
To me, those were very valuable.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other questions before we move on to PhD? Please talk about the PhD.
So that was the master's and PhD programs combined. Yeah.
That's right. Sorry. So, all right, Melissa, do we have anything else? I guess who is going to move on, because we do all of these approvals all at once. So we'll move forward with the.
So next up is a Master of Science in Biostatistics from UK. So this program is focused on predictive data analytics and health sciences, which is a growing field, as you can imagine. So we're joined by 2 professors, Amanda Ellis and Heather Bush, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
Sorry about that. I want to start by thanking everyone for the opportunity to present our program. The last year has highlighted the importance of health data for policy and decision-making. We designed the proposed MS in Biostatistics to provide an educational opportunity for addressing the changing landscape of biostatistics and public health data. This 33-hour master's degree program will provide instruction and experiential learning with applications to real-world population-level data. This 2-year degree will meet the needs of individuals who seek to work in public health, healthcare, government health agencies, and as researchers within biomedical or pharmaceutical industries. Jobs in these fields require advanced knowledge for the analysis of health science data and often require evidence of data-related experiences. The program strives to provide an opportunity to students who may have not traditionally sought an MS in biostatistics due to the heavy math requirements of traditional programs. We are committed to creating and sustaining effective pipelines to increase diversity in biostatistics. This program addresses an existing and expanding workforce gap by training biostatisticians to participate in health data science teams. Traditional statistics and biostatistics training programs place heavy emphasis on experimental data and the analysis of clinical trials. Emerging health data are often collected through administrative data or non-experimental methods. Augmenting biostatistics training with epidemiological thinking and approaches provides a robust curriculum that addresses modern health data science, i.e., how do you deal with the wealth of observational and secondary data that exist outside of traditional design studies. There is demand for the program both from the student and workforce perspective. The Planning and Accreditation Coordinator at UK identified that in the last 5 years, there's been a 20% growth in the demand for the discipline as indicated by degree completions. In the last 12 months, nationwide, close to 10,000 jobs were posted for biostatisticians. In the last 12 months, Kentucky and the Cincinnati area had 98 postings during that same period from employers like Anthem Blue Cross, Praxil, Phasestar, MedSpace Inc., Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and St. Jude Children's Hospital. Closer to home in the last year, we have posted more than 10 positions specifically seeking individuals with MS training. We have ongoing searches for 3 open positions, and multiple searches have failed due to the lack of qualified applicants. This is not unique to us or Kentucky. This is a national complaint. This program complements our existing training partnership with the Department of Epidemiology. The courses in this program also complement the existing MS in data science by offering additional training with a focus on health data science. The MS in biostatistics is expected to have a robust student enrollment and will allow for consistent offerings of existing courses, serving a greater university need for advanced training in biostatistics. And Dr. Bush and myself are more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
If not, we can move on to the next 2 from UK. So we have 2 related programs, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering Technology and a Bachelor of Science in Lean Systems Engineering Technology. Both of these programs are partnerships with Bluegrass Community and Technical College, where BCTC offers the first 2 years and UK offers the junior and senior level courses. And we have Nelson Akafua here, and he will provide an overview of both programs.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me. Thank you all for the opportunity to present these 2 new programs. The Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering Technology and the Bachelor of Science in Lean Systems Engineering Technology will both be housed in a new Department of Engineering Technology within the College of Engineering. And for the Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering, the curriculum is designed to provide in-depth knowledge of hardware and software design, development, application, and maintenance with a mix of both classroom and laboratory experiences. And these are in heavy demand by industry. The 4-year program, as Melissa said, is designed to be a 2+2, 2 years at Bluegrass Community and Technical College, and the last 2 years at UK. A total of 127 credit hours are required, with 68 credit hours taken at BCTC and 59 at UK. So in this arrangement, as I mentioned, UK would offer only junior and senior level coursework. The program is designed to respond to shortages in critical manufacturing skills within the state and improve program offerings and enrollment for the University of Kentucky College of Engineering. In addition to our partnership with BCTC, this program also has strong partnership with industry partners within the state. And we are, as part of the curriculum, we incorporated experiential learning or co-op and internship arrangement that allows students to work with local companies to prepare them to be career ready upon graduation. So the target audience for this degree program is students that are seeking a distinctive career path and opportunities in creative industrial design, production, and service. Graduates will be prepared for jobs with titles such as embedded software technologist, computer support specialist, networking support specialist, automation engineers, application engineers, telecommunication engineers, network support technical engineers, and network administrators. This computer engineering technology program aligns well with the findings from CPE's MC's report, which was published in April 2020. And this identified engineering technology as an area of expansion at the bachelor's degree level within the Commonwealth. So this proposed program will enable the University of Kentucky to respond to the critical area for expansion at the bachelor's degree level, and in so doing, help tackle the significant challenges confronting the Commonwealth for meeting manufacturing workforce needs. So that's that on the computer engineering. I'll pause there and take any questions before I present the lean systems engineering technology.
Questions?
Okay.
No questions, I'll present the lean systems engineering technology. Very similar arrangement as we have with the computer engineering technology. This program would prepare students in-depth knowledge in lean operations and skills needed to improve quality output, to streamline processes and reduce waste. Similar to the computer program, this is a 2+2, where the students spend the first 2 years at BCTC and the last 2 years at UK. A total of 127 credit hours are required, 71 credit hours taken at BCTC and 56 credit hours at UK. The program, again, is designed to respond to shortage in critical manufacturing skills within the state and to improve program offerings and enrollment for the University of Kentucky College of Engineering. Similar arrangement with industry, a lot of industry participation and involvement in shaping the curriculum. And this will continue to open opportunities for students to get industry experience while enrolled through co-op and internships. The target audience for this degree program is students that are seeking career pathways in creative industrial design, production, and service. Graduates of the program are prepared for jobs with titles such as Lean Continuous Improvement Engineers, Lean Engineers, Manufacturing Engineers, Lean Process Improvement Engineers, Supplier Quality Engineers, Lean Manufacturing Specialists, and Quality Engineers. The proposed program, again, aligned with the findings of CPE's MC's report, where engineering technology was identified as an area of expansion in the state. And this allows UK, again, to respond to those needs in providing these critical manufacturing skills needed by industry. That I'll take any questions.
Maybe it's just my ignorance, but could you just give me a simple definition of the lean systems? I'm not familiar with it.
Good. I'm happy to. Yeah, so lean, the word lean was actually coined in the 1980s by two professors from MIT who were studying the Toyota production system. And that became well known. The word lean became well known in the business community and is taught actually in business schools around the world. This is the first time we would have a comprehensive engineering program around that idea. It focuses mainly on productivity improvement, abnormality management, and a mix of manufacturing and operations management is what this degree program will be focused on.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, the College of Engineering has a 26-year-old lean systems program that trains industry professionals that come to UK. Currently, we graduate about 230 students out of that certificate program. So this is the first time we would have this as a comprehensive undergraduate program.
And as a faculty rep here, I didn't hear too much about, you have existing faculty or will new hires be necessary? And do you have the budget if new hires are necessary?
Yes, so these two programs are brand new and in a brand new department. So yes, we are hiring new faculty. We project to hire 5 tenure track faculty and 4 lecturers within the next 2 years. We were fortunate to have a seed money from Toyota that made a $3.8 million donation to create and launch the program. We have some internal allocation of $1.5 million in addition to that to launch the program. So there's funding to hire faculty.
Okay.
Any further questions? Okay, so the University of Kentucky has presented several programs today. So 3 in aerospace engineering, 1 in biostatistics, then 1 in computer engineering technology, and 1 in lean systems engineering technology. These as a group, unless somebody would like to pull one of them out for further discussion.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second. So further discussion? If not, we are voting on Kentucky's programs. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Motion carries. And now we'll move on to the University of Louisville.
All right, we're at the final stretch here with 2 programs from U of L. First, we have a Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science that focuses on the application of technology in fields other than engineering and sciences. Then this will complement the existing Bachelor of Science in Computer Science Engineering that does focus on those traditional areas. It's ultimately designed to address the tech workforce shortage in Louisville and throughout our states. And we have Pamela Thomas, who's a professor in this field, here to provide further explanation.
Well, thank you, Melissa, for the introduction. I'm Wei Zhang, the chair of computer science and engineering at U of L. Dr. Thomas just had a class at 11 o'clock, so she has to leave about 10 minutes ago. So I'll be here to present this new program and answer your questions. So the Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science degree program aims to provide students foundational computer science skills, but also provide them flexibility to study other areas, including arts, science, business, and many other fields. Because computer science has been increasingly applied to almost all areas, and we want to use this program to provide opportunity for more students to study computer science and to graduate more bachelor students with computer science skills to meet the local demands. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics has made a projection that the software development job will be increased by more than 25%. And also based on the data from Kentuckiana, there are thousands of jobs posted in Louisville alone every quarter, and many of them are not filled. And especially for Louisville, there are many jobs that are very valuable to automation and artificial intelligence in the future, especially in manufacturing, logistics, and transportation. So it's really important for us to graduate more students in computer science and software development areas, because those are the growth of the future jobs. And so we already have a Bachelor of Science degree program in computer science and engineering. So this is a ABET accredited program with very strong focus in engineering. However, students have different background, different interests, and many of them may not identify themselves as engineers, even though they are still very interested in studying computer science. So this Bachelor of Arts degree program is more interdisciplinary. So students will still learn the core computer science courses, which are the same as the BS degree program, but we also offer them the opportunity to learn up to 30 credit hours in other fields. And they also have more opportunity to study elective courses in data science, in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cybersecurity. And students in this program will also participate in 2 internships, which will be based on our engineering co-op programs. So we already developed a lot of collaborations with local companies. So I expect that our BA students will work with local companies to gain practical experiences through the internships. So that's all I would like to present at this moment, and I'd be happy to answer your questions.
As I recall, Northern Kentucky has a fairly vigorous computer science curriculum. How does this compare, or does it?
Yeah, they have, I think they have a School of Informatics with several departments under that school, computer science, information system, etc. And also they are close to they actually at the Cincinnati metro area, potentially with more students there. So in terms of the difference, the BA program is more interdisciplinary. So it will cover all the core computer science, like programming languages, data structures, algorithm design, software engineering, database. But at the same time, the computer science has become more interdisciplinary in the last 5-10 years. For example, if students want to use AI to create digital music, it would be good for them to have knowledge on music theory. So the BA program will allow them to take a minor in music, while they can still learn computer science, programming, AI. So this knowledge in both areas will help those students to be more qualified for certain jobs that related to computer science.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
If not, we have one last program from Louisville. It's a doctorate of social work. This is what we call an advanced practice doctorate. It targets working professionals who may want to go into academia or to play a leadership role in a social service organization. And I believe we have the dean of the Kent School of Social Work here, and possibly another colleague to further explain this program. I'll turn it over to U of L.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Bibhuti Sar. I'm a professor at the Kent School of Social Work. And as Melissa mentioned, our dean, David Jenkins, is here as well. I'm going to give you a brief overview of our proposal, and then we'll be happy to take any questions. And I appreciate everybody's patience. I know we are at the last, and hopefully we don't disappoint you. So our DSW program is really intent on increasing the number of social workers with doctoral degrees in Kentucky. And I think that also meets the strategic plan in terms of the Stronger by Degrees agenda that Kentucky has had for some time now. Our program is a structured 44-hour credit hour, 100% fully online degree program with synchronous and asynchronous models that can be completed in 8 semesters, which amounts to about 3 years, and it includes a continuous enrollment during the summer. Our primary focus is on that social work professional, and it's set up in a way so that it can be done part-time over the 3 years. We're very intent on helping those social work professionals for whom it's not feasible to interrupt their employment to pursue doctoral education at this time, but nevertheless desire to have a greater opportunity to advance their into social service leadership and college and university teaching. Our program is distinctive in its focus on training the working professional for social service leadership and teaching, and that the courses are sequenced in a manner of 8-week ways, 8-week sessions, so that students concentrate on one course at a time. Also, we have a teaching and leadership practicum within the applied curriculum, which happens in the second year, to make sure that the practice aspect of the doctorate are actually realized through mentorship with faculty who are excellent teachers, as well as leaders in the community who provide social service leadership. The student demand for this program, we did two things. We asked our Delphi Center for Teaching and Learning to do a market feasibility, and they identified that there were about 20 programs throughout the nation, and our particular program meets the niche of those folks who are interested in social service leadership, as well as many adjunct faculty who teach in schools of social work but do not have a doctoral degree and wish to have that degree in order to perhaps get a full-time position, or and also in terms of having the doctorate to be able to advance in social service leadership positions within organizations. We also contacted did a survey with our alumni for the past 5 years, and 74% of those alumni indicated that they had been considering the DSW and would love to have an opportunity to do that, and particularly if it was offered online, as they were not only in Kentucky, but throughout the nation. We also know that within the field of social work, this is really a practice. The practice doctors is really growing, and enrollment in DSW programs has increased by about 35% in the last few years. And the number of programs that are out there being developed each day is around 40% at this time. And where do these folks go once they get their degree? They end up being employed at universities, consulting firms, nonprofit agencies, and particularly in terms of being able to connect the connection between practice, social work practice, and social work education. There's a great need within schools of social work for folks to have that practice experience in order to teach the next generation of social workers. And this program finally really fits in with our program, which we offer at the school already at the University of Louisville. We have a bachelor's in social work. We have a master's in social work. We have a master's in couple and family therapy program. We also have a PhD program, which is more research focused. So this really adds to that continuum of programming that we're interested in offering. So I'll stop there and ask my dean if he wants to add anything to what I've said.
No, Dr. Sari did a great job. The only thing I might add is our accrediting body is making a move toward the practice doctorate, possibly being the new terminal degree. So we are trying to get ahead of the curve in providing this opportunity for social workers who want to have this level of education moving forward.
Madam Chair, can I ask a few questions? They'll be quick, I promise.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Sari. Couple of questions. One is, I think you may have answered this, Dean, that are they moving from an MSW as the terminal to a DSW? And do we have that from the association fairly clearly stated?
It is still a hot topic. I'll jump in here, Dr. Sari, because in the dean's meetings, there's a lot of pushback because there is so many master's level educated people that they got that degree as the terminal degree. But like nursing and some other fields that added the doctorate as the terminal degree, there's a lot of talk about that. And they've even outlined the outcome measures for if we do move to that as the terminal degree, but it is not specifically the terminal degree at this point.
Number two, there's a lot of movement around a PhD in social work, which I was University of Louisville. Why would you have not pursued that instead of doing an applied doctoral degree? I'm interested in that.
Well, I'm not sure. We do have a PhD degree and it's research focused. We've had the PhD degree at University of Louisville since 1997. It started out as a joint program with University of Kentucky until recently. and I used to direct that program. One of the things that we found out is many of our students who we would take into that program really are better suited for a practice doctorate. Their intent was to teach and take leadership positions with organizations, as opposed to have a research career and focus and work in academia. And so this actually will help us to kind of help direct students in the right path. Many students who get into PhD programs they may not be well suited or don't realize the extent of the training in terms of research that's needed, and they really struggle with that. So we hope to make that opportunity for those who want to do the practice doctorate versus a PhD research focused doctorate.
Yeah, that's, I know we're late in this game here, so I promise I'm not trying to step in and create any issues for you, but my last question is around, is this a BSW to a DSW, or is this an MSW to a DSW, or do you have routes for both?
We specifically are wanting master's level students with degrees who are out in the field and have had a minimum of 2 years of practice experience. We think it's just really critical to have that. Down the line, it would be really nice to be able to have that sort of continuum. You come into U of L, you're interested in social work, you do your bachelor's, master's, DSW, so forth and so on. But I think that's down the line. I think the critical thing here is it's important that they get the practice experience if you're going to do a DSW. So they'll have to, take some time to do that. It's possible down the line for folks to be enrolled in the DSW program while they're working, and by the time they finish the DSW, they could have their 2 years master's experience. But right now, I think to really we really want to support folks who are out there in the field and want to do a doctoral degree. And so that's what we're going after right now.
My last quick question goes to how many of the courses or processes, field work will be crossing over between your PhD and then this DSW?
At this point, we're looking at these curriculum as separate, but particularly the research courses, the teaching courses have many things in common. And in fact, as we're thinking ahead, we've been lucky to recruit faculty who are going to be teaching, particularly the teaching course at this point, both in the PhD program as well as in the DSW program. And so there will be, and our goal is to, and we've had this hope that faculty will teach across programs. And so I think in terms of synergy and making sure that things are connected, I think we're very mindful of that. And I think that will happen as we get more faculty doing the teaching in this program.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Sloan.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm not sure this is a question, but so much as an observation for something I read and just maybe opening for comment. So it looks like to me there are 18 DSW programs in the country right now, and this will be the third in Kentucky. Is that accurate?
Yes. Our colleagues at the University of Kentucky started their program last year, and then Spalding University has a program, I believe they started this year. What makes us different is that at University of Kentucky, they have 3 focus areas: military, general leadership, and clinical practice, if I understand correctly. Spalding, I believe it's practice and social justice oriented. Ours is unique in terms of looking at it from none of these programs, although you can certainly get the degree and go, but none of them are really concentrated and focused on the teaching. And the other is that we feel like our faculty are strong in the area of children and families and child welfare and social service. And so we really wanted to emphasize that leadership aspect of it. And so in that way, ours is unique and slightly different from our colleagues at UK or Spalding.
All right. There are no further questions. We have two proposed programs from the University of Louisville, one in computer science, doctoral social work. Motion.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, Lori.
I said we have two programs from the University of Louisville, one in computer science and one in the doctoral social work, and I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Stat. Thank you, Kobe, I believe. So any other further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you, motion carries. All right, we're gonna keep plugging along. So we have data research and advanced analytic update. And we've got the data unit's got some big changes coming soon. So I'll turn it right over to David and he'll give you our latest news and provide some updates about our current research projects. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Grace G. Dye is on the line as well, and she's going to share her screen, and we're going to take you through a recent release of our lifetime earnings report. Grace, if you could go to the next slide. So this is the third release of a three-part series around our return on investment. And here we're looking at lifetime earnings first. We looked at the credential level, comparing those that just did a high school diploma all the way up to a graduate degree. And then we disaggregated that by gender. And finally, this report is on the differences in race and ethnicity. So let me just highlight one important future research release. About a year ago, we did our first return on investment report. Our second version of that will be released this summer. And so these three briefs are a precursor to that return on investment report. And we're super excited about that release because, again, we track a cohort of Kentucky public high school graduates from that high school graduation spring, 8 years out. In this case, it'd be 2011. And we'll be able to assess their completion numbers all the way to the workforce and really calculate a true return on investment for Kentucky students. But today we're going to just cover the lifetime earnings, which is a projection out from our ACS, American Community Survey, and it takes us all the way through those years of typical work capacity from about 25 to 64. So with that, Grace, I'll turn it over to you, and you can take us through the remainder of the slides. And I think
sorry about that. Thank you, Dr. Mayhem. So this slide presents you some of the key findings from the first research brief, examining the differences in lifetime earnings across 6 levels of educational attainment, including high school diploma, some college, associate degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and terminal degree. Terminal degree is used as a convenient label here, which includes individuals with a professional degree and or a doctoral degree. As you can see from this graph, the median lifetime earnings rise steadily for Kentucky workers with increased educational attainment. Having some post-secondary education, even without a degree, adds nearly $200,000 to the median lifetime earnings of high school graduates. And earning an associate degree adds another bump of nearly $200,000, while a bachelor degree earns adds an even more substantial increase, close to $600,000. And workers with a doctoral professional degree realize the largest gains with median lifetime earnings, totaling more than $3.6 million, nearly double the earnings of those with an associate degree. So the key findings from this graph really resonate with what Dr. Thompson has been emphasizing: higher education matters, and the financial benefits of higher education are life-changing. So the second research brief examines the gender-based disparities in lifetime earnings across 6 credential levels. While there's a positive relationship between educational attainment and lifetime earnings for all people in Kentucky, women in Kentucky earn significantly less than their male counterparts at every degree level. This graph highlights the substantial gaps in lifetime earnings between men and women. The disparity ranges from a low of about $500,000 among male and female high school graduates to a high of nearly $1.4 million among male and female terminal degree holders. And the differences here can also be expressed as ratios of female to male earnings. For example, female high school graduates earn about 69 cents to every dollar earned by a female high school graduate. And nationally, on average, women earn about 82 cents on the dollar earned by men. So we can see from this graph here, the disparity in pay for women in Kentucky is higher than the national average. Hopefully, the findings from this research brief will encourage colleges and universities to continue making efforts to recruit female students into those high demand and high wage fields, such as STEM and healthcare, and employers to evaluate their pay structure and the role of women in leadership positions. So the last research brief examines the race ethnicity-based disparities in lifetime earnings by credential level. First, a little bit explanation about this figure. So the Y bar with dots represents the lifetime earnings for white non-Hispanic, which we used as a reference group to compare with other racial ethnic groups. And the orange bar represents for Black non-Hispanic, the green bar represents for Asian non-Hispanic, and dark blue is for Hispanic. You might notice that there's a missing bar for Asian non-Hispanic with some college and another missing bar for Black non-Hispanic with a terminal degree. So the way how we estimate the lifetime earnings is based on the median earnings of 8 age-based groups from age 25 to age 64. Each age group spans 5 years. For example, 25 to 29, 30 to 34, and so on. So we estimated lifetime earnings by adding those 8 age groups together. But for Black non-Hispanic with a terminal degree, we didn't have enough counts for the age group of 25 to 29. Thus, we cannot just add the rest 7 groups together to estimate the lifetime earnings for Black non-Hispanic with a terminal degree. Similar case for Asian non-Hispanic with some college, we didn't have enough counts for the age group of 55 to 59 and 60 to 64. So we cannot just add the rest 6 groups together to estimate the lifetime earnings for Asian non-Hispanic with some college. So the calculations for those 2 groups were redacted due to the limitations of sample size for certain age groups. So 3 key findings that I'm going to walk you through from this graph. So first, as we can see, white people in Kentucky had the greatest lifetime earnings across all credential levels. However, the gap between white and other racial ethnic groups became relatively smaller as the credential level increased. So we can conclude from this observation that college degrees provide financial benefits for all racial and ethnic groups and often help narrow the income disparities with white workers. But of course, we cannot deny that the disparities still exist across all credential levels. Second, as we all know that nationally, Asian students have a greater likelihood to enroll in college and complete college than white students. However, from this figure, we can see that the median lifetime earnings of Kentucky Asians are far less than their similar educated white peers across all educational levels. The last key findings that I would like to point out here is that the biggest racial ethnic disparity in lifetime earnings exists between white and Black non-Hispanic across all credential levels, except for high school diploma. So those are the findings from this study looking at the lifetime earning in Kentucky. So I would also like to take this opportunity to give credits to Matthew Wetter, who worked a lot on this study last fall as a research intern. So I will stop here and turn to Dr. Meehan and see if you have anything to add.
Grace. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So in terms of upcoming research, again, we have many studies that have taken a while to get to completion, but we are very, very close at this point. House Bill 419 is active, and it is on an interactive website, both on Kentucky CPE Data Center and with our sister agency, KY Stats, which is a student's right to know in order to disseminate information needed for decisions in terms of the total investment and the return on investment from wages. We have an economic impact study of Kentucky certificates with the Martin School. We have dual credit with KCTCS, and then we have the impact of COVID-19 on college going rates. And then the second edition of the ROI, as I stated at the beginning of this presentation. And then finally, we have an early career workforce outcomes, comparing outcomes by minority and low income graduates all the way down to the program level, so that we can tell various baccalaureate programs which ones are closing gaps most effectively. So let me stop there and see if there's any additional or any questions either about the lifetime earnings or about future research. Okay, final slide. Grace, if you would. So Chair Harper, I'd just like to say, thank you for all the ASI members. I am in the process of transitioning into a new role outside of the CPE. I'm going to Dallas College to start a research institute, founding executive director for their research institute. And let me just say it's been a pleasure working with all of you and a pleasure working at the CPE in general with such fantastic colleagues. And let me just say that Travis Muncie will be leading the team from here going forward, and he is working on all of these projects. And so you're going to hear from him, and you're going to hear from Chief of Staff Lee Nimitz, who has shepherded most all of these projects to completion and works into a policy analysis. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Chair Harper.
Well, thank you. I wasn't sure if you were going to let the group know, but I was going to let them know in case you weren't going to let them know that you're leaving. We cannot thank you enough for all the great work that you provided for CPE. And I know just in general, the staff acknowledges all the data and research. So, excuse me. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say?
David, you will be missed.
Chair Harper and committee, David is, is still, I'm not believing he's gone until he actually is. The level, and I've been at CPE a long time. If you guys really know exactly what he's brought to the table and the amount of things he's able to do, even dealing with someone like me who's asking for more and more every day. He's been phenomenal. His team is phenomenal. Grace and all of the team, Travis. We'll move on. We'll still produce high quality work. We'll miss David. I'm not liking him very much right now for leaving me, so I won't say any more about him other than we are definitely always will welcome David back as a part of our family if he ever decides to leave that hot place in the South. You're always welcome back, David.
Thank you, President Thompson.
All right, thank you. Hopefully I'm over my coughing fit. If not, I'll have to take a minute. But again, David, we wish you well on your new venture. So thank you so much for your service to CPE. All right, I'm going to move on to, I guess, the Summer Bridge Program grants. As you all probably remember that the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, known as GREER 2, provided the ability for CPE grants of updates of up to $100,000 for the Summer Bridge programs. designed to help prepare students for college and help with them with their return to for a second year. Earlier this spring, the grant process opened up and CPE awarded those funds in early May. Amanda, can you provide us with updates on more details on the process and how the recipients plan to use those funds?
Yes, Chair. Thank you so much. I will make this brief, but we are really grateful. Again, it was another allocation we received at CPE from the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, or GEARS funds, to put towards summer bridge programs to not only support incoming freshmen, but also incoming sophomores, since it was such an interesting year and lots of needs are out there. So we did have about 29 applicants of public, private institutions, 40 institutions, and KCTCS campuses as well. We were able to award 21 of those grants. And so basically they last from 1 to 6 weeks, depending on the campus and the student body. Many of them, almost, well, I would say all of them, have a focus on academics of support in providing kind of some jumpstart support. There are some that are offering credit. There are also partnerships within the community and within with the chambers, and different opportunities for students to be able to hear about different careers and how to kind of re-engage in their post-secondary institution, and as they look forward into their majors and careers. And so there are lots of interesting things, not only that the universities are going to do during the summer to onboard them, but there's also a component with follow-up and support for those students into the fall and even some into the spring, to really provide support around their social emotional needs, their academic needs, and to really monitor their progress in hopes to help them have what they need to sustain and succeed. So we were really, really pleased with the applications. There was a lot of thought that went into it and very little turnaround. And so we administered about $1.5 million. It's going to impact hopefully over 1,800 students this summer. And then we will do the grant again next year. We have another 1.5 to hand out next year for the following summer, which we will start a little earlier and learn from the measures and the feedback that we receive, the evaluation of the impact of the summer bridge program. So we will keep you posted on the outcomes, but we're really pleased. In the staff note, you will see all of the institutions who did receive funds, and we look forward to working with them. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions about the summer bridge program? Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to the strategic agenda. Over the past several months, CPE and staff and Eastern Kentucky University Facilitation Center has engaged with constituents and stakeholders, both in Kentucky and nationally, to gather qualitative data that will be used to develop the next statewide strategic agenda. Stephanie Ashley and her team compiled those responses into an executive summary that was provided for you to review prior to today's meeting. She's also here with us today to talk about the main themes that came out of the process. Before I turn it over to her, would you like to start us off, Lee?
Yes, thanks, Chair Harper. Given the time constraints we have today, I just wanted to quickly turn it over to Stephanie. I think what you'll find in terms of the research that she's gathered is going to be very interesting, and I think certainly very helpful as we begin to draft out this agenda. We also have for you today Melissa Young, who is going to very quickly talk about mission, vision, and values based on some discussions that the full board had, as well as the research that Stephanie and her team have been able to gather. I don't know that we'll be able to do that discussion justice. We're simply putting these on the table for initial look-see, and at your next meeting in July, we will ask for a more deliberate look at mission, vision, and values, and hopefully a consensus adoption of them. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie. So thank you.
Thanks, Lee. And I am really pleased to share this information with you all. It was really interesting to collect, and
I'm going to share my screen and just give you a couple of visuals to help as we go. Just a very quick background. We did do 29 executive interviews, 12 hours of discussion for those one-on-one. We did 11 focus groups, nearly 150 participants. I think all told, maybe 25, 26 hours of discussion about higher education, which resulted in this. Which is double-sided, and I'm going to try to boil the ocean in the next 7 minutes and give you an overview of what we found, because it is really interesting. There were 4 overarching themes throughout all the interviews with elected officials, with national organizations, with university presidents, throughout all the focus groups. The number one was affordability, which I don't think would be a surprise to anyone. The other is that Kentucky is currently focused on the right things with their strategic agenda. The encouragement was to double down on those things that we know work, best practices, and that we know are needed. For example, recruitment was another overarching theme that came out of the qualitative data. And it's an area that Kentucky's been focused on. What really bubbled out was that the goal of 60 by 30 will not be achieved without low-income minority and adult students. That has been a target area, but it has to continue to be, and the efforts have to be really innovative and creative, or Kentucky's not going to make that 60 by 30. The other piece with recruitment, there was quite a bit of energy around recruitment must start earlier for traditional students. More when they're freshmen and sophomores, some even suggested middle school. And there was a lot of agreement that post-secondary education cannot do this alone, and that the P12 partnerships will be critical to success. The other 4th key theme was all around inequities. And that took various forms. But basically, it's the inequities that are happening, whether it's the digital divide or social unrest and injustice, racial injustice, low income and poverty issues that are happening in our communities that are impacting higher education. There's also discrimination and some other things that were pointed out in high schools. Who is being able to take advantage of dual credit? We know it's a best practice in transitioning to higher education, but what do those students look like, and is it equitable? And there is even quite a few inequities within colleges and universities. One of the things that came up because of the pandemic was certainly the digital divide. Low-income students really struggled, and it really brought that to a head. The pandemic did. So related to that recruitment piece, or sorry, the target areas in Kentucky is focused on the right things. There was one interviewee that pointed out something that I thought was worth sharing, that the 60 by 30 goal is a great target, but it's not just the numbers. It's really attainment in what and for what, and how many lives have changed and how, and what were the results of those opportunities. That it's not just promoting 60 by 30, but attainment in what and for what. We asked what were the barriers to college access, and it is not unique to Kentucky that affordability was the number one issue, and it was by far number one. The other 4 could go in just about any order. The college readiness was certainly a barrier, both academic readiness and the lack of belief and encouragement that many students, both traditional and adult learners, have about going back to school. The complexities of adult learners, and a phrase used by one of the interviewees was, we have to think of them not as adult learners, but working learners, that they are working individuals juggling families, work, and school, and that brings a lot of complexities. The opportunity inequities, I've already mentioned those, and the persistent questions about the value of higher education continue to be a barrier. So with all of that, there were 7 key themes for 2030. Affordability, again, not surprising. A couple of quotes that came out of the conversations around affordability. We were talking about the FAFSA requirement in Tennessee, that all high school graduates have to complete the FAFSA, and one of the participants shared it changed the conversation at the dinner table. And that was a paradigm shift for many families. But in talking with other people, not all children sit at a dinner table. And we have to change that conversation at the ball fields, at churches, at community centers, all around where those people are. So many low-income students are on the precipice of economic disaster. The pandemic made it even more dire and clear about how on the edge so many students were in terms of support systems. Industry and workforce partnerships definitely bubbled up as a focus area, and the importance of that and being prepared for current and future careers, the impact of technology, artificial intelligence, working remotely, automation, balancing the pendulum between technical certificates and four-year degrees, and a lot of emphasis on on-the-job learning. P through 12 partnerships, again, I already mentioned that. There are a lot of people that believe that's the key to success for so many areas. Recruitment of adult learners, out-of-state students, underrepresented minority students. Another quote from the interviews, the 60 by 30 goal cannot be achieved without adult learners and underrepresented minority students. And as a state, we are not doing a good job attracting these students. Universities promote lifelong learning, but they're not set up that way, meaning that it's hard to find on-ramps as an adult learner to come back. Student success and making sure that once they're here that they are successful. There was a lot of discussion around that, but one comment that stood out was the students' return on investment should not be a gamble. That when they get here that everything is done to help make them successful, and supporting the students that are being admitted, an appreciation of understanding of those working learners and the inequities and what those inequities mean, such as dispelling the belief that if they worked harder, they would achieve. One participant shared that wraparound services on their campuses are growing in need, and many agreed that that growth is expected to continue. The value of higher education certainly came up in almost every conversation in one way or another. But what was interesting, it came out of an early interview that the value of education is a white middle class issue. That for underrepresented minorities, the value of higher education has never been in question. It has always provided value. But similar to the slides you just saw, there are many participants who identified that it is not equitable value. That was just demonstrated in those slides. And then throughout those 6 areas was diversity, equity, and inclusion. I didn't pull it out as a separate area here because it really intertwined with all 6 of these, but it was certainly a big area of focus for 2030, particularly with what happened with the pandemic and the lost enrollments and the equity gap that created for college enrollment, particularly for students of color. So I am going to stop there. I tried to boil the ocean and see if you had any questions about anything that I shared or you'd like to hear more of.
Questions?
Just say an excellent job putting a lot of information together.
Oh, thank you. And in the reports, you will find we didn't just identify problems. We also got a lot of suggestions of strategies, different approaches to tackle a lot of these issues. We just didn't have time to go through in them today, but they were some really good ideas.
Well, and I also want to commend Stephanie Ashley and her team. It just, you can't imagine the amount of information that she's been able to sift through and elicit from folks. And so tremendously important work. So thank you, Stephanie.
Can I second that?
Oh, my pleasure.
Chair Harper, if the committee is ready, we'll turn our attention to some draft mission, vision, and value statements that my colleague Melissa Young is going to present to the group.
That'll be great. Thank you.
Hi. Carrie, do we have the slides for that we can show?
We've made you a co-host so you can share, but I can pull them up. No problem.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I can try
Sorry.
to share here. Well, you might want to share since I wasn't prepared for that. I don't
No
have
worries. I'm pulling them up right now. Oh, so sorry. Give me
While
just
she's
a
looking
moment.
for that, I will just say, just as a brief reminder, the mission, vision, and value statements, we did discuss this as a group. Stephanie Ashley did a facilitated exercise with you. To remind you, a vision statement is an aspirational, compelling picture of what we hope to achieve in the future. So just keep that in mind. It's forward thinking, it's bold. The current vision statement you can see on the left, and then the proposed vision statement, and this is very much a draft. We're not married to anything we're presenting here. This is just a starting place for us to launch off on discussion. But the proposed would be that we will be a national leader in building a strong, sustainable, and equitable economy through increased educational attainment and affordable, high-quality post-secondary programs. I think that one of the things we heard that might be missing in our current vision statement is that maybe it wasn't bold enough. Maybe it wasn't a big enough of a challenge to the system. So we did try to incorporate that with the national leader language. And also affordability, we really wanted to move that up to the vision since that is such a concern and it's such a hope for the future. So that is the vision. I guess we'll just go through all three and then we can discuss if we have time. Next slide is focused on the mission statement. And to remind you about the mission statement, Carrie, can you, yeah, there you go. A mission statement is a concise explanation of an organization's purpose. So unlike the vision statement, which is more aspirational and future, it looks out into the future, the mission statement is really just why do you exist? What is your reason? What is your purpose? The proposed mission statement here is trying to capture a lot of different thoughts. Kentucky's system, post-secondary system prepares students to be lifelong learners and excel in a diverse, inclusive, knowledge-based economy. Through academic programs, research, and service, post-secondary education drives innovation, breaks the cycle of generational poverty, and improves quality of life. So, you know, perhaps could be a little more concise, but this is a starting place. And especially we were hearing that maybe there wasn't enough about quality of life and enough about the transformative power of higher education in terms of breaking that generational, that cycle of poverty. So we wanted to make sure that we work that in, at least in the draft. And finally, the values. The values are the core principles that guide and direct the organization and its culture. So next slide, Carrie. We had a current list of values that was fairly long. I think the proposed list is maybe just a little more concise, but we're looking at, and these are in no order of importance: academic quality and excellence, affordability, accessibility, inclusion, equity, diversity, innovation, strategic business and community partnerships, transparency and accountability, collaboration over competition. And this is like one of the themes that we heard a lot through these focus groups, is that we need to be able to work together as a system to achieve our goals. Comprehensive student support, which means academic, social, and emotional support. Efficiency and systemic thinking. So those are the proposed values, you know, a starting point for discussion. I guess in the remaining time we have, we'd love to hear your reactions or, you know, your thoughts about maybe what we still didn't capture, if anybody wants to chime in.
Anybody have any thoughts?
I would say that these proposed statements are in your board books. So if you have an opportunity before next time to maybe noodle around with it or take a look, we'd love your feedback either before the meeting or at the next meeting. So just appreciate your time and attention on this. And Chair
Thank
Harper,
you.
I think that's all we have on the strategic agenda at this point.
Okay, thank you so much. We've had a busy 2 hours, so I apologize. We ran, well, maybe a minute or two long, so I do apologize. Just some food for thought before we adjourn, because I think that's all we have for today. We might be also thinking about whether or not we want to take our committee meetings to in person or leave virtual. Again, as we go back to maybe what might be the new normal and or what works best for the committee, to be honest. So think about that, and we'll probably get something out as we move forward and try to see how the committee would like to move. But unless there is an objection or anything else somebody wants to add, I'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
You too.